Everyone for joining us here at 7 a.m. streaming live on KARE 11 Plus, and we begin with a live look from the Pentagon this morning as we await a press conference from the Department of Defense on the U.S. operations in Iran. That is set to begin any moment now.
Yeah, we don't see anyone at the podiums just yet, but we'll keep eyes on that. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs General Dan Kane are both set to speak, and this is going to be the latest public update from top members of the Trump administration on Operation Epic Fury. Again, it's supposed to start here any minute, so we'll be, of course, keep an eye on the podiums, and we'll bring that to you as soon as they take the mic.
Until that happens, let's welcome you in. Jason Hackett and Alicia Lewis here with you. Let's get out to Courtney in the backyard because we're expecting some winter-like weather here today.
Absolutely. Yeah, big day of change for us here. It's already feeling different than it was at this time yesterday. Yesterday morning, the first time I stepped into the backyard, it was 50 degrees. And this morning we are in the 30s. So it is chilly, a little bit breezy, but pretty quiet. This is a live look at Stillwater, and we're not seeing any snow. Well, we're going to see that precipitation as we get into later today. That mixed bag of precip, it's going to start out as rain, and then it will transition into snow overnight, which means tomorrow morning, roads probably going to be a little bit slick. And then as we look ahead to the weekend, we keep that winter pattern going. High temperatures even cooler in the 30s and snow chances both Saturday and Sunday. So if you're planning ahead for the weekend, that's good to know. Current temperatures 36 in the Twin Cities, 30 in St. Cloud. We're in the mid-20s in Alexandria. They got a good amount of snow earlier today. Winter weather advisory there has been allowed to expire, and we've seen major improvements in visibility. We've been hanging out at a perfect 10 in the Twin Cities, 6 in St. Cloud. Alexandria was at a mile just a couple hours ago. Now they are up to a good 10 miles. So lots of improvements in that department. And as we look at the radar over the past couple of hours, we had that swath of snow that has fizzled out and moved eastward, but we're not done. In fact, we're nowhere near done with precipitation. Today and the rest of the week brings multiple chances. We've got the clouds through lunchtime today. Watch the time up ahead, or up above, I should say. We've got that mix, right? Starting at about 3 in the afternoon. Then it ramps up, becomes pure snow overnight tonight, mainly to the north of the Twin Cities, but I think we easily pick up about an inch or so, and we'll have more on that ahead, but multiple chances for precipitation.
Looks like we're having issues with the audio. We're trying to get that fixed for you, but again,
Operation
here we go.
Epic Fury. It hits home. Our generation understands this fight. For 47 years, these barbaric savages in the Iranian regime have murdered our brothers in arms. My guys, your guys, our guys. Through their terrorist proxies and cowardly attacks. Now they race toward a nuclear bomb to hold the world hostage. The Iranians have targeted and killed thousands of my American brothers. That race to a nuclear bomb, President Trump will never allow it. Not now, not ever, not on our watch. The mullahs are desperate and scrambling. Like the terrorist cowards they are, they fire missiles from schools and hospitals, deliberately targeting innocents, because they know their military is being systematically degraded and annihilated. Iran's neighbors, and in some cases former allies in the Gulf, they've abandoned them. And their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas, either broken, ineffective, or on the sidelines. Iran stands alone, and they are badly losing. On day 10 of Operation Epic Fury, we are winning with an overwhelming and unrelenting focus on our objectives, which are the same as the day I gave my first briefing here on Operation Epic Fury. They're straightforward, and we are executing them with ruthless precision. 1, destroy their missile stockpiles, their missile launchers, and their defense industrial base. Missiles and their ability to make them. 2, destroy their navy. And 3, permanently deny Iran nuclear weapons forever. It's a laser-focused, maximum authority mission delivered with overwhelming and unrelenting precision. No hesitation, no half measures. As President Trump declared yesterday, we're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force. We will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated. But we do so on our timeline and at our choosing. For example, today will be yet again our most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes. Intelligence more refined and better than ever. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, the last 24 hours have seen Iran fire the lowest number of missiles they've been capable of firing yet. Just the bifurcation, just the trend lines that we talked about on our first briefing. You see, this is not 2003. This is not endless nation building under those types of quagmires we saw under Bush or Obama. It's not even close. Our generation of soldier will not let that happen again, and nor will this president, who very clearly ran against those kinds of never-ending, nebulously scoped missions. Those days are dead. Instead, we're winning decisively with brutal efficiency, total air dominance, and an unbreakable will to accomplish the president's objectives on our timeline. We stay locked on the target because here at the Department of War, that's our job. Now, the chairman and I, having just returned from Dover last night, our troops and their families and the enormous sacrifice that they make is certainly heavy on my mind. So I'll close with scripture, drawing strength from Psalm 144. Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. He is my loving God and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield, in whom I take refuge. May the Lord grant unyielding strength and refuge to our warriors, unbreakable protection to them and our homeland, and total victory over those who seek to harm them. And amen. God bless our troops and this mission. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm here today to continue the updates to the American people and to those in the room on Operation Epic Fury. First, let me start with honoring our fallen. As the Secretary said, on Saturday and again last night at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, our nation's leaders honored our returning fallen as they arrived home for their final time. Last week I shared a few of the names, and today I want to share the rest. Major Jeffrey O'Brien and Chief Warrant Officer 3 Robert Marzan were the final 2 fallen to return home, and members of the U.S. Army Reserve's 103rd Sustainment Command out of Des Moines, Iowa. Last night, as the news has been reporting, we honored the return of Staff Sergeant Benjamin Pennington of the U.S. Army's 1st Space Brigade from Fort Carson, Colorado. When I met Ben's family last night, his mom, his dad, and his sister, they showed me a picture, a drawing that Ben had made when he was in kindergarten. It was clear all the way back then that Ben wanted to do one thing in his life, and he wanted to serve his country and be a soldier. And to the Penningtons, just know how Ben was absolutely a great one. And finally, Major Sorfleet Davies, who returned home this weekend after sadly passing away from a medical condition while on duty in Kuwait. We welcome him home as well and mourn with his family. To the families and the families of all of our fallen, we share in your profound grief. The Joint Force remains eternally grateful for your sacrifice and the gift of a great example that your service members have given all of us. I want you to know that their names will never be forgotten, and you and your family are part of our Joint Force family forever. Let me talk a little bit about the progress thus far, acknowledging that Admiral Cooper will likely continue to give updates from CENTCOM. As the Secretary said, we're in the 10th, moving into the 11th day of Operation Epic Fury. The Joint Force remains focused on 3 military objectives: continue to destroy Iranian ballistic missiles and drone capability in order to prevent attacks on the U.S. and others throughout the region. And this means attacking launch sites, command and control nodes, stockpiles before they can threaten our personnel, our facilities, and our partners. Second, we continue to strike the Iranian Navy and their capabilities in order to do things like sustain movement through the Straits of Hormuz. And third, we continue to start working on and going deeper into Iran's military and industrial base in order to prevent the regime from being able to attack Americans, our interests, and our partners for years to come and project power outside their borders. This means servicing production facilities, research and development sites, and infrastructure. Let me turn to the map. We're going to try digital today to prevent laser injury. Since our last update, CENTCOM continues to make progress across the southern flank. To date, they've struck more than 5,000 targets. U.S. Strategic Command bombers recently dropped dozens of 2,000-pound GPS penetrating weapons on deeply buried missile launchers across the southern flank. We also have struck several one-way drone factories to get at the heart of their autonomous capability. And of course, alongside our regional partners along the southern flank, continue to execute intercepts against one-way attack drones using fighters and attack helicopters. Our strikes mean we've made significant progress in reducing the number of missile and drone attacks out of Iran. Ballistic missile attacks continue to trend downward, 90% from where they've started, and one-way attack drones have decreased 83% since the beginning of the operation. A testament to our air defenders and our air defense systems, and as I said, our partners in the region continue to do great work as well. Second, we're making substantial progress towards destroying the Navy. In the first 10 days of the conflict, we're more than 50 Iranian naval ships into the campaign using a combination of artillery, fighters, bombers, and sea-launched missiles. As Admiral Cooper noted last Thursday, we struck and sank an Iranian drone carrier ship, and U.S. CENTCOM continues today to hunt and strike mine-laying vessels and mine storage facilities. This work will continue. Third, against our objectives, we've begun to target Iran's military and industrial complex, again, focusing on centers of gravity to get upstream of the shooters out in the field in order to deny them the ability to continue to generate those one-way attack drones. Let me spend a minute talking about the Joint Force. Across the area of responsibility, this is gritty and tireless work, and I cannot begin to explain how incredibly proud I am of the extraordinary courage, tenacity, and grit and professionalism within the Joint Force. Last time I had a chance to talk about the Army's incredible logisticians who are out there sustaining the fight. Today I want to highlight a few groups of sailors. First, I want to thank the men and women of the Ford Carrier Strike Group and their families, and let all of them know how grateful I am for their leadership and service. The crews on board this strike group have already been endured months at sea only to get their deployment extended. These exceptional Americans, rogered up, all supported by their families, continue to stand the watch, taking the fight to the enemy over and over again, night after night. Aboard ships like the USS Ford and the Abraham Lincoln are a special group of sailors I want to highlight today. These are the men and women, the sailors up on the roof running operations on the flight deck. With an average age of the early 20s, these are the unsung heroes of naval aviation. These young sailors, known for wearing yellow shirts, are in charge of the catapults, taxiing jets around on the flight deck, shooting jets off the front end, and recovering jets off the back end. They are literally involved with every single movement on the roof on an aircraft carrier. They are the last ones that a naval aviator sees before getting shot off the front end, and the first one that a naval aviator sees after safely trapping on the back end. And just for a minute, imagine you're standing on that aircraft carrier flight deck. There's 30 knots of wind in your face. The deck is slippery, covered in grease. It's noisy. There are propellers spinning. There's jet blast everywhere. The helicopters are running. Your head is on a swivel, and you're trying to direct a multi-million-dollar fighter into a 1-foot square box so that those naval aviators can be shot off into the black of night to go do America's work. Those jets are fully loaded with missiles and bombs, and they are a world-class team combined with the naval aviation and the aviators in those jets. This beautiful symphony of American spirit is the definition of perfectly organized chaos. And these crews do it every single time the carrier is at work. Oh, by the way, in the middle of the night and oftentimes in the pouring rain. These are dedicated young people who take the road less traveled to serve their great nation, doing the deeds that we need them to do. America's enlisted force is the pride of every nation's military, certainly ours, and the envy of every other one as well. Each and every one of them out there across the joint force are extraordinary, and in particular today I want to highlight the yellow shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, our work continues. It'll continue to be difficult. I ask every American to keep our deployed force and their families in our thoughts. Combat deployments can be tough on the force and the families, and it's important that we continue to remember that. I remain deeply humbled by the 2.8 million members of the Joint Force, and I'll end where I started, and that's remembering our fallen and their families whose sacrifice will be felt forever. And with that, I'll take some questions with the Secretary.
A beautiful symphony of American spirit. Well said, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, sir.
And I will just note that no other country in the world is capable of executing what the chairman just described, day after day, night after night, unrelenting. Well said. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. You talked, Mr. Secretary, you talked at the conference in Florida on Thursday that there was a 90% missile capabilities degradation and 83% drone degradation, and I know the chairman just repeated those numbers. We've seen the most amount of fighting these past 5 days. Is there any update to those percentages? And also, are you able to give any quantification of degradation to the enemy's nuclear capabilities yet?
What those numbers represent is a persistent low ability to respond, which is what we're looking for, right? It's if the enemy can simply wait and then project power, that's problematic. And we've seen some spurts here or there, but ultimately the trend lines, if you look at the charts that we look at every day, have gone like this down to a flat. It doesn't mean they won't be able to project. It doesn't mean our air defenders still don't have to defend. They do, but that is strong evidence of degradation, along with the battle damage assessment that the Joint Staff does, which takes time. You've got to look at imagery and recognize whether something's been simply degraded or it's been destroyed, or whether an underground facility has been collapsed or completely obliterated. So there's differences in how you evaluate that, but the numbers staying that low is a demonstration of the efficacy for sure. Yeah, Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary. There's been reports that the new leader of Iran has been wounded. Do you know if this is true and what his condition is? And then another one, President Trump said he had a really good call with President Putin yesterday. Will Russia be aiding us in this conflict, and can you share anything on that?
Well, the president, as I've said before, maintains strong relationships with world leaders, which creates opportunities and options for us in very dynamic ways. So the president said it was a good call. I was not on it, but those that were said it was a strong call, reaffirming hopefully the opportunity for some peace in Russia-Ukraine, and also a recognition that as it pertains to this conflict, they should not be involved. The first question was?
On the new leader of Iran, there's reports that he's been wounded.
Oh, the new leader of Iran. He would be wise to heed the words of our president, which is to not pursue nuclear weapons and come out and state as such. As far as his status, that's not something I can comment on right now. Yeah, right here. Correct.
Mr. Secretary, Eric Schmidt with the New York Times. A question for you first. Last week you talked about this being the beginnings of an air campaign that could last 3 to 8 weeks. Can you give us your assessment on where we are now? And Mr. Chairman, in any conflict, the enemy or the adversary adapts to the tactics it faces. Can you talk about the most challenging adaptation the Iranian military has made to the U.S. military? What challenges are you facing most right now? Thank you.
I appreciate the question. Where we are is in a very strong place, giving the President of the United States maximum options. And from the beginning, from this podium, we haven't stated how long it will take. Our will is endless. Ultimately, the President gets to determine the end state of those objectives, right? But what he's said continually, and I want the American people to understand, is this is not endless. It's not protracted. We're not allowing mission creep. The President has set a very specific mission to accomplish, and our job is to unrelentingly deliver that. Now, he gets to control the throttle. He's the one deciding, he's the one elected on behalf of the American people when we're achieving those particular objectives. And so it's not for me to posit whether it's the beginning, the middle, or the end. That's his, and he'll continue to communicate that. What we serve him as is we give him updates on a daily basis of exactly where we are so he can make that determination on the throttle. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the question on adaptation. As you're right, no plan survives first contact with the enemy or Murphy. They're adapting, as are we. Of course, we have very entrepreneurial warfighters out there. I'd rather not, for operational security reasons, tell them what's working. So I'm going to not answer that question based on that. But we are watching what they're doing, and we are adapting faster than they are.
Are they more formidable than you anticipated, General?
I mean, I think they're fighting, and I respect that, but I don't think they're more formidable than what we thought.
Secretary Hegseth, thank you. Jordan Conrads from the Gateway Pundit. Axios reported, citing U.S. and Israeli sources, that the U.S. was not happy with strikes on 30 fuel depots in Iran. While this is anonymous sourcing, it seems kind of congruent with what President Trump said yesterday, that there's certain spots they don't want to hit relating to energy infrastructure that would take a long time to rebuild. And whether this reporting is true or not, what's your message to Americans, those who supported the president and those who aren't really in favor of this war and who worry that Israel might be taking advantage of the U.S.'s backing? And then for Mr. Chairman, for you, I wanted to ask, when you say that we're moving inland, what capabilities does Iran have to shoot down jets over their land? And would that trigger some kind of rescue operation that could risk a bigger ground operation?
Well, I would just state by saying Israel's been a really strong partner in this effort. Where they have different objectives, they've pursued them.
All right, you're listening to a live update from the Pentagon, from the Secretary of Defense, who's speaking right now, Pete Hegseth, and the Joint Chiefs General Dan Kane, both talking about Operation Epic Fury this morning.
Yeah, day 10 of Operation Epic Fury. The Defense Secretary saying that we are winning right now, also emphasizing that this is not 2003 and that this is not endless nation building, but not necessarily giving a timeline in terms of operations here. You heard the president and his comments yesterday. Hegseth says it's not up to him, up to Hegseth, to dictate whether it's the beginning or the middle or the end. He's saying that it is up to the president, that he is controlling the throttle right now.
Of course, we still have ears on that press conference. We're going to bring you the latest coming up in just a few minutes.
7:26 here on your Tuesday, happening in just hours at the state capitol. Governor Walz will announce a plan to transform Minnesota's human services. We're told the announcement is about strengthening program integrity within the Department of Human Services. It comes less than 2 weeks after the governor unveiled anti-fraud legislation. At the time, he proposed increasing penalties for stealing public funds and expanding the ability to audit DHS funds. Today's announcement is scheduled for 11:45. Courtney has your forecast coming up next.
All right, everybody, good morning and happy Tuesday. 36 degrees right now as the sun just starts to rise here in the Twin Cities. Winds a little bit breezy this morning out of the northeast. We're at 13 miles per hour right now. And as we head into the afternoon, get the clicker working here, we do have some precip on the way. Highs are going to be cooler than yesterday, 46 here locally. We're going to start with some chilly rain. That's going to turn to snow overnight tonight. So Wednesday morning, it's going to be slick on your commute. And then Thursday, we basically do a little bit of the same thing again. During the evening, we have rain that turns to snow. Friday, looking a little bit more quiet, but breezy, cold in the morning, a little bit brisk into the afternoon. And by the weekend, highs fall into the 30s with additional chances for snow.
KARE 11 breaking news now.
Welcome back on this Tuesday, streaming right now on KARE 11 Plus. We begin with that breaking news. We just heard from top Pentagon officials on the U.S. Operation Epic Fury happening in Iran. Our Megan McPherson's at the live desk. She's going to break that all down for us coming up in just a few minutes.
Yeah, before we get to that, though, let's get to Courtney in the backyard because we're looking forward to some winter weather. Moving in later.
Looking forward to?
We're looking ahead to it. Maybe forward was the wrong
I was
term.
impressed. I was like, all right, we're looking forward to it. Here we go. No, but we do have winter weather on the way. Could make the evening a little bit slick out there. Even tomorrow morning, the leftover precip and due to the temperatures falling below freezing, it could be slick. So let's start with this morning. I mean, you're already feeling the chill if you're getting ready to head out the door. We are 11 degrees cooler in the Twin Cities than we were yesterday morning. I mean, yesterday morning was pretty nice. We had 40s and 50s as we were hanging out here in the backyard. This morning, not the case. 36 right now, feels a little bit more like 28. And we saw some very brief flakes falling here in the backyard, but that has since stopped. So overall cooler today. As we head into tonight, we're going to time this out. We have mixed precip, so slippery spots to be expected for tomorrow morning. Temperatures are going to tumble even more as we head into this weekend. Currently, mainly 30s across central Minnesota, 20s further to the north, even some teens. Look at you, 17 in Bemidji. Good morning. And visibility looking good. We've seen significant improvements, especially for places like Alexandria. There was a winter weather advisory north of Alexandria earlier this morning. That was allowed to expire early, and we've just seen big improvements when it comes to visibility in that region. Road conditions may still be a little bit dicey, so just take it easy out there. Satellite now just showing mainly cloudy skies, so we're getting a little bit of a break. That lasts through early this afternoon, and then here we go again, right? We have this mix of rain turning into snow. By about nightfall, this is just going to be purely snow, especially up to the north of the Twin Cities metro. That's where the bulk of the snow is going to fall. Some areas could get up to about 3 and 4 inches. I think for us here, probably an inch or 2 is looking like the most likely scenario. And most of this is done by tomorrow morning's commute, but we could have some light snow still lingering. And again, because temperatures are going to get very chilly overnight tonight, forecasting upper 20s, it could be slippery. We see improving conditions into tomorrow afternoon. The sun will actually come out and will warm to around 40 degrees. So once again, models in agreement that from Grand Rapids all the way down through the metro, really all the way down as south as Laverne, we're getting an inch or so of snow out of this system. But it's not the only system, so I want to talk timing. We've got that mix late this afternoon into the evening, and by overnight, it's just snow. That wraps up early tomorrow morning. Then we get a little bit of a break. That is until Thursday evening, at which point we have another round of that rain transitioning into snow. And by the weekend, temperatures are even colder, and we have snow possible both days, Saturday and Sunday. And check out Monday. High temperatures fall into the mid-20s, which is below the average, which is 39.
All right, I've been tracking the crash situation this morning. Good morning. We're seeing a crash here in Bloomington. 494 westbound here, right near Portland Avenue. We see a couple of vehicles here in this left shoulder, so it is slowing things down, especially if you're coming toward the Edina area from Mendota Heights or even the Sunfish Lake area. Things are slow right now, so if you take this route over the next 15 minutes, you could stay on 494 and add about 10 to 12 minutes to your drive. You can also take Highway 62, but we are seeing some slowing in that area, and if you're wondering why, that's why. All right, taking a look here, the other story is the difference here between the roads as you head north and the roads in the Twin Cities metro. We're seeing partially covered, completely covered roads. I've seen that all morning in Alexandria area, the Brainerd area, St. Cloud. And then when you zoom into the Twin Cities metro, things are pretty clear on the roads, which is great for your morning drive. But later on this afternoon and even tonight, if you have plans, you definitely want to leave earlier, maybe head out the office a little earlier because roads won't be the best. And then as Courtney mentioned, that will carry on into tomorrow morning. Of course, we'll track that throughout the hours here, but for right now, your commute is just fine. Taking a look at the bigger map so you can see your routes. If you're noticing the slowing here coming into Maple Grove from the Rogers area, that is lingering slowing from a crash that just cleared about 3 minutes ago. We're also seeing some slowing here on Highway 169 southbound in the Anoka Champlin area as you're heading down toward Osseo and into the Golden Valley area. Otherwise, slowing's pretty decent for right now. I would just watch 394 eastbound here too into downtown. That area is seeing some slowing because of construction.
Cece, thank you. We'll check back in a little bit. Well, just minutes ago, we received an update from the Pentagon on U.S. operations in Iran.
And Megan McPherson has been listening in on that press conference. She joins us from the live desk with the very latest here. Megan.
So Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says that Iranian leaders are, quote, desperate, scrambling, and that the U.S. and its allies are, quote, winning. That is what we just heard from him in that press conference. Now, overnight, some developments that we've been following. Iran launched new attacks firing drones towards Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. And in Kuwait, the National Guard says that it shot down drones in the country's northern and southern areas. Now, a major question right now, when will this war end? Well, Hegseth did not answer this directly during the press conference, but here's what he did share.
Example, today will be yet again our most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes. Intelligence more refined and better than ever.
Now, he also mentioned that it is not up to him to decide when this war is over. He says that that is President Trump's responsibility and that they are simply carrying out the mission that President Trump has in mind for them. Jason.
All right, Megan McPherson with the latest from the live desk. Thank you so much. For the first time, we're getting a look at the financial deficit dozens of Minnesota school districts are up against once again this year and what's behind it. Here's Jennifer Hoff.
Stillwater schools are facing a $5 million deficit, but part of a much larger shortfall across many metro districts. I'm Jennifer Hoff with KARE 11 News. The Association of the Metropolitan School Districts is made up of about 50 districts. Its executive director says they face a total deficit of $223 million. Falling enrollment is still a huge factor, but now unfunded state mandates are having a big impact, like summer unemployment benefits and paid leave, that between the payroll tax and salaries for substitutes is another $700,000 every year in Stillwater alone.
We're not arguing that those are not great programs or benefits, but they come with a cost, right? And if the state doesn't provide the money, then school districts have to take that out of their general fund.
Brunquist is asking the legislature this year to fully fund the existing statute.
Well, this morning, the Minneapolis police chief is admitting his department's response to Operation Metro Surge wasn't perfect. During a police oversight commission meeting, several people accused Minneapolis police of failing to protect residents, saying that officers did not intervene when federal agents used excessive force. Police Chief Brian O'Hara says that department policy does not allow officers to assist with federal immigration enforcement. They also cannot interfere with federal agents doing their jobs.
Once we have federal law enforcement that are acting in the performance of their duties under federal law, you get a much more complicated situation. And again, it's one that just we are not trained on. We don't know the laws that they're operating on. We don't know their policies.
Now, O'Hara went on to say that the department was focused on public safety, preserving crime scenes, and avoiding escalating tensions.
New this morning, a change to an affordable housing bill in the Senate is proving controversial. The Wall Street Journal reports it restricts large build-to-rent investors. The provision forces them to sell single-family homes within 7 years of construction. The idea here is to help buyers, and the National Association of Realtors supports the plan. Build-to-rent industry groups argue it would have the opposite effect. They say it would choke financing, reduce supply, and also drive up prices. This morning, Mayor Jacob Frey is still considering a Minneapolis ordinance to extend pre-eviction notices from 30 to 60 days. The mayor's office released new data showing evictions are down compared to last year. Now, several council members are asking the mayor not to veto the measure meant to help renters impacted by Operation Metro Surge.
If Mayor Frey vetoes this policy, he will be responsible for thousands of families getting evicted and becoming unhoused.
The city recently approved $1 million to support families impacted by Operation Metro Surge. However, council members say that money takes time to get to the people, and the eviction pause would help with that.
Well, behind the scenes, many airline workers are still feeling the impact of the partial government shutdown. A mobile food pantry is returning to MSP Airport today to help TSA employees and their families. Our Kent Erdahl has more.
Here we go again. A mobile food pantry will depart for MSP Airport once again this week in order to help TSA agents who have missed yet another paycheck during yet another government shutdown, the third one impacting their jobs in less than 6 months. In other areas of the country, the shutdown has already led to staffing shortages and incredible lines stretching outside in some cases. Houston's Hobby Airport is now warning travelers to arrive 4 hours early as spring break travel heats up. Here in the Twin Cities, the impact has been much less obvious from the outside. Wait times and lines are pretty normal right now. I spoke to a TSA agent and he said That's because spring break rush hasn't happened here quite yet. He also says staffing levels are better than some areas of the country, but he's worried because
Washington says we're overstaffed here. That doesn't seem right to us, but they want the staffing reduced here. This may be a means for them to push people out.
For now, though, he says local agents are doing their best to keep everyone safe and on time, despite everything they're dealing with at home.
Well, at the state capitol this morning, lawmakers putting the focus once again on fraud in Minnesota.
And in just a few hours, Governor Walz is set to announce a proposal to strengthen our human services system against those schemes. Audrey Russo is joining us now with what we know.
Yeah, this announcement is about strengthening program integrity within the Department of Human Services. So what does that mean? Well, it appears to be another move by the governor to address the widespread fraud from DHS programs that cost taxpayers millions. Now, what you're looking at here is an announcement from Governor Walz about 2 weeks ago. He was unveiling anti-fraud legislation, and at the time, he proposed increasing penalties for stealing public funds and expanding the ability to audit DHS funds. Now, today's announcement could add on to those ideas. It also comes just one day after state lawmakers heard from a DHS whistleblower who claims she flagged irregular activity back in 2019 and faced retaliation. She actually called for a culture change, starting with mass firings.
I do not see how we can come through this without a massive change at the Department of Human Services in our leadership. There just really simply has to be firings. And I hate to say that. I hate to see people fired, but there is no...
Now, the governor and DHS commissioner will make their announcement at 11:45. We're going to continue to follow this story throughout the day, both on air and online. Back to you.
Audrey, thank you. At the state capitol, lawmakers are figuring out what to do about a tactic using your personal data to charge you extra on products and services. Danny Spiewak explains.
At the Capitol lately, Minnesota lawmakers have been talking about surveillance pricing in the last couple of weeks. That's basically when a corporation uses your private personal data to set prices individually, meaning based on how old you are or where you live, that's how much you'll pay for a certain product. It's not known just how or if this is employed in Minnesota, but there is a DFL bill in the House traveling through committee right now that would ban the practice of surveillance pricing. Republicans have asked some questions about just how it would work, and groups like the Minnesota Retailers Association say they're in favor of protecting consumers, but believe this may be market interference. Regardless, there's bipartisan interest in regulating the use of artificial intelligence, and that will be a conversation continuing the rest of the session.
Well, this morning, the Wolves are waking up in Los Angeles, getting ready to start a 3-game road trip through California. The team posting this video of the players heading to LA yesterday. Minnesota is hoping for a big comeback after Saturday's 27-point loss to the Magic. It was ugly. Like, what happened?
I have no idea. The Wolves they can be so good.
They can be so great and then so
teams,
horrible.
And then so horrible against mediocre teams. I don't get them.
I don't get them. Well, they're going to try to redeem themselves tonight against the Lakers, a late one, 10 p.m., and you can catch the action right here on KARE 11. This week, the Wolves will also be playing the Clippers and the Warriors. We got to turn it around.
Definitely. So over in the world of hockey, new numbers this morning show attendance at Saturday's Boys State Hockey Championships beat out every NHL game that day. You heard that right. The Minnesota State High School League says 19,648 people were in the stands at Grand Casino Arena to see Moorhead beat Minnetonka in overtime in the Class AA final. That's almost 600 more people compared to the face-off between the Nashville Predators and the Buffalo Sabres, which had the biggest audience out of 11 NHL games on Saturday. People are obsessed with this tournament. They love it, and it's great to see here in the state of hockey. I'm almost curious, with the amount of love people have for hockey here in our state, what would be the biggest championship, professional championship? Would it be the Wild, the Wolves, the Vikings, or the Twins?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. Honestly, any, because we're just like wanting
we're
something.
Yeah. But
honestly, we would all follow behind whatever team.
A Stanley Cup here in Minnesota,
considering
how much people love hockey here.
Like, that could happen.
Yeah, that would be.
We got to get some. We got the Fligno brothers. We got to get. We got to get Quinn's brother, the other Hughes brother,
Jack Hughes,
and the other brother. There's 3 brothers.
Oh, there are 3.
There's 3. 2 are on the New Jersey Devils. Jack, and I'm forgetting his other name. Ooh, sorry, buddy. And then Quinn is on the Wild.
So recruit the entire family.
Get
their grandchildren. Get their children. Get their cousins.
Might as well. We got to get a winning team here, Courtney. We're gonna be at the game tonight too.
We will.
You're gonna be the special guest.
Yes, let's play hockey. I'm doing that call tonight for Pride Night.
With
so I'm
more
looking forward to that.
enthusiasm.
Yeah.
tonight.
I was gonna say that was a
Let's
little
play
bit
hockey.
weak. Come on.
Go hockey.
Go hockey.
Go hockey.
Yay, stick puck.
He's saving the energy for tonight.
Exactly. Thank you,
All
Courtney.
right. Well, right now, 36 degrees, winds northeasterly, about 13 miles per hour. I just took a peek outside. There are little pockets of blue sky. It's a pretty nice morning out, but it definitely is chilly. You'll need the extra layer, and it's going to be chilly the rest of the week. We are just kind of heading into a more winter-like pattern. We did have some snow north of the metro earlier this morning. That has since fizzled out, so you don't have to worry about that if you're getting ready to head out the door. We've seen improving conditions. Now, tonight, you may need to build in extra time for that evening commute, or at the very least have ways to get weather alerts just so you know what's going on where you are headed. The reason being we have cold rain that will then transition into some snow overnight tonight. And through the rest of the week, we stay cool, highs in the 40s, and we have additional chances for rain and snow. So here's your satellite and radar over the last few hours. We had a band of snow off to the north that kind of edged its way into Wisconsin, and we saw some brief flakes here in the metro. Saw some of those in the backyard, but nothing stuck. And at this point, we are pretty dry, even some pockets of blue sky. 36 for most of us, 34 in Crystal, freezing in Buffalo, 30 in Princeton. Expanding the view out, we do have teens up to the north, 16 in Bemidji, 19 in Moorhead at this hour. As we head into early afternoon, we stay in the 30s, so big changes compared to yesterday, and especially compared to Sunday when we hit 60 degrees for the first time this year. We're not going to do that again for quite some time. Instead, we are tracking several rounds of precipitation over the next handful of days. Rain and snow chances not just tonight, but also again on Thursday. So slick roads are likely not only tomorrow morning, but into your Friday morning. And even beyond that, a winter-like weekend is expected for us with additional snow, and that one actually could pack more of a punch. So we'll have more on that throughout the week.
KARE 11 Plus Sunrise is brought to you by Home Furniture.
Don't miss Home's preferred customer event. Get up to an extra 15% off sale prices, plus 3-year special financing on your favorite furniture brands in bedroom, dining room, living room, and mattresses. The preferred customer event, only at Home Furniture. Spring is just around the corner, and right now at Home Seasonal Concepts, get a free custom order patio fabric upgrade from select top outdoor furniture brands. Plus, get up to 15% off sale prices and 3-year special financing on porch and patio at Home Seasonal Concepts.
3 years after Minnesota legalized marijuana, shops are slowly starting to pop up across the state. That includes Forest Lake, where the town's first dispensary is set to open next month. And the shop's owner is the town's mayor. Here's Morgan Wolf with more.
I just love those mums. They're so pretty.
Warm weather has Lakes Floral busy.
It's going to be 32, 34.
The store, mixed with a boutique, has been around for nearly 100 years.
Fresh cut flowers, events, full garden center, seasonal garden center, and gift shop.
Blake Roberts is a part of the third generation to run it.
The challenge is already here with the cost of everything going up, overhead for small businesses. This is going to allow us to diversify a little bit more.
Next month, they're getting a flower that they have never sold here ever before. In addition to this greenhouse, they're opening the Greenhouse Cannabis Company.
Get a green flower over there and come over here and buy a plant. Yeah.
They're not growing the green flowers, but they are partnering with local tribes for product. So Robert says that his experience as a business owner gives him an edge.
We were first approached back in March of last year.
Approval from the city came in July, but as mayor, Robert says that he kept the whole process transparent.
I removed myself from all votes, from council chambers, any discussion, and just wanted to make sure everyone realized it's above board, and we're just happy to be able to bring this new product to Forest Lake.
Growing one career, adding his political ambitions won't be.
Running for higher office.
Yeah. That I'll never do. This is as high as I want to go.
A new type of greenhouse planted firmly in a familiar soil.
You don't stay in business for 96 years because we don't know how to adapt, you know?
In Forest Lake, Morgan Wolf.
You have a good day.
KARE 11 News.
Thanks for coming in.
In Forest Lake, the dispensaries need to all follow similar laws to liquor stores in regards to where they're located, certain distances from schools and daycares, for example. The mayor says that the licenses have been approved by the city. He hopes with population growth that more licenses can be added. Now, you've probably seen them on a street corner near you, near stores in your neighborhood, people spinning signs to get attention for business. Take a look at this. There are some new champions in this unusual skill in Las Vegas over the weekend. The 19th annual World Sign Spinning Championship was held. They have serious skill. Spinners came from dozens of U.S. cities, some from international locations. Contestants are judged on technical ability, execution, and of course, their signature style. Pretty good. We'll be right back.